Staying in Contact. I'm London Mitchell. In these weekly chats, I try to focus on issues facing our communities here in Northwest Ohio and the individuals who are working hard to improve our quality of life. I often interview local authors whose books focus on the history, culture, and heritage of Northwest Ohio. In this installment, we're featuring another agency with a survey, trying very hard to ensure its operations are in close alignment with community needs. Lucas County Children's Services has launched a community-wide survey to flush out the challenges it faces. My guest is Executive Director Randell Muth, who discussed with me the importance of what they hope to glean from the survey.
Well, Lana, it is actually twofold. The first is we want to get a picture of as broad a representative of Lucas County with respect to their perceptions of what Lucas County Children's Services does or should be doing, their idea as to how effective we are and how satisfied they are with what we do. Purpose number two is to set a baseline. Uh, Over the last year or so, there's been a Lucas County Children's Services Task Force that has worked diligently to develop recommendations for how we can improve service delivery, meet the expectations of the community, and communicate that to the community. We anticipate they will be releasing those recommendations in the next month or two. So what we wanted to do was figure out what does the community know about us? How do they feel about us now? Then when we get the recommendations from the task force, spend a year and a half implementing them, we'll ask the same questions of the community again to see if we've improved in meeting their expectations and our communication with them.
I would imagine that you already have some ideas about what those major issues are going to be.
Yeah, absolutely. This task force has 27 members. One is a retired director of this agency. One is a retired assistant director. The other is our chief legal counsel. Another one is our board chair. So they have participated 2 hours a night, 2 days a week, I'm sorry, a month, and have been involved in the development. And we've seen and heard what the discussions are. Um, so yeah, we have some ideas, and we've already started to build the infrastructure necessary to implement those recommendations once they're finalized and approved by the county commissioners.
One of the goals that is in the news release announcing the survey is that Children's Services wants to work toward family stability. What do you mean by that?
A lot of people, if you ask people, what does Children's Services do? Well, we investigate allegations of child abuse and neglect, and if a kid can't live in their own home, we put them in foster care. And that's true. That's only a very small part of what we do. And the families that we work with where the children can't live in their own home is only about half of those cases. But even in those cases, our primary mandate is to help the parents resolve the problems that led to children's services becoming involved. We also, and part of that is stabilizing whatever the issues are, whether it's issues with being able to meet basic needs for the children, provide basic housing, we can help. We can help parents gain the ability to do that. Um, Stabilizing families, strengthening families, that's the second part of what we do.
I think too often you are for you are perceived as the agency that shows up on the scene, takes away the children, and parents are left still facing the same challenges, but now they don't have their children.
Yes, I think that is an accurate perception of the perception in the community. Uh, It is not in any way accurate to what we actually do. First, when we receive a referral, receive a request from help for help, either from the court, the police, any of our mandated reporters, our number one priority is to do everything we can do to prevent the need for that child to enter the foster care system. In fact, the court has to make findings that we have used reasonable efforts to prevent the need for removal. If those reasonable efforts are not successful and a child has to come into care, then we have to use diligent efforts to effectuate reunification. I know that's legalese, but what it means is that if it's not possible for a child to remain safely in the home, we then shift into high gear and do everything we can to make it possible for the child to return home in as short a time as can reasonably be expected. We do everything we could do. And that's actually 90% of the boots on the ground work here at Lucas County Children's Services, helping to stabilize and strengthen families.
When a family is facing a crisis or they face challenges that they can't meet, how do they get in contact with Children's Services, or what exactly do you need from them to start the process of help?
They could, yeah, thank you for that question. That is a great question. A lot of people don't realize that they can actually ask us for services or help. We call it a FINS, Family in Need of Services. Now, by far, the majority of the time we get involved with a family is because somebody else has called. But there are cases where families say, they call up and say, I'm having trouble with this issue and this issue. And we will open that case as a family in need of services. And they can start it the same way anybody does. Just call our referral line, uh, our CARES line. It's on our website. Uh, and it starts the same way as though anybody else had called.
So suggestions you might make to a family. So yeah, and maybe a family doesn't realize that there are challenges that can be overcome. What advice do you have for all families to kind of look at themselves and see what it is they need?
If you're not, if you're not sure whether Children's Services is the right agency for you, uh, Lucas County does have a 211 number. All you have to do is dial 211. You'll be connected to a person who can listen to your concern and has access and understanding of hundreds of resources in Lucas County and may be able to make a more specific, a more targeted source of help for you than Children's Services.
Back to the survey, if I may, Toledo has an incredible diversity of people in it. Different age ranges, different income levels, different cultural and religious backgrounds. Who are you looking for? Who do you really want to reach out to?
Another great question. One of the things that we started about a year ago is having community conversations where me personally, a number of my leaders went to various areas in the city. Uh, we wanted to be, we wanted to go to targeted areas, go to where those people are and listen to what they have to say. And we did. And we learned a lot. However, in conjunction with doing that, having those conversations, we also wanted to make sure that we included the entire county, the suburbs, Sylvania, Maumee, all that, different age ranges. What we saw when we did the community conversations is that we attracted a lot of people who had already had involvement with us, which is good. That's great. We absolutely need that. We benefited greatly from that feedback, but that can't be our only source. So the purpose of this survey was to supplement the information that we learned and to broaden the number of respondents. One of the things that we'll be doing is, I think either today or certainly by the first of the week, be mailing 25,000 cards with the QR code asking people to take this survey to eh, just yeah, a representative set of residents in Lucas County.
Almost out of time. I did want to throw one final question to you. And I don't know what you know about my personal background or how much Kevin may have shared with you, but I spent over 30 years working with the Board of Developmental Disabilities, and I have always felt that the Lucas County has a really good human services network. If you look at Children's Services, DD, the Area Office on Aging, but the Chamber of Commerce or the people that market our community really focus on the metro parks and the zoo and the education and the labor force, but they rarely, if ever, talk about the network of human services that we have. And I can't believe that that wouldn't be a strong selling point because what family doesn't at one point or another need to connect? Uh, what are your thoughts?
Uh, I would say your perception is very accurate. I've been in child welfare for 27 years. This is the fourth county that I've worked in. I've worked in Stark, Wayne, Mahoning, and now Lucas. And I can tell you from personal experience, this is the strongest network of safety net and support systems. Mental Health and Recovery Board, Scott Silak, Lucas County DD, Michelle Meyer-Holtz, myself, the juvenile judges, we all work together. We all have a shared passion for protecting children, strengthening families, making sure that those basic mental health and basic needs of the families are supported. But it's more than just good interpersonal relationships. We blend our funding, we blend our resources, we don't operate in silos. We meet all the time. And I think it's why when you look at some of the metrics here in Lucas County, they're higher than the state average, and they're far higher than the other metro counties.
Good point. Good point. Final word is yours, sir.
Please take our survey. It's so easy to do. All you have to do is just go to lucaskids.net. When you do that, the first thing your eyes are going to go to is a link to a Survey Monkey. Just click on that and take it. Last thing I'll say is that we have hired it's on our website, but it's actually being implemented by a private company. So all your responses will go straight to Mays and Associates, a private company. They will get all the individual responses, and it's in our contract that they cannot release an individual response to us. So we're going to ask you in that survey, have you ever received our services? Are you currently receiving? Please know with confidence that you can answer candidly and truthfully, and we will never know what you said. Mays and Associates will be giving us summaries of the data, not the actual data.
And you're going to make public the end result?
Absolutely. We're going to make public the result, and we'll tell you what we think it means, and then you can draw your own conclusions as to what you think the data means.
The website address again is lucaskids.net. Randell Muth is the Executive Director of Lucas County Children's Services. Thanks for being with us.
Absolutely. Thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
Take care.
It's been a pleasure.
I'm London Mitchell. You can reach me through my website, londonmitchell.news. That's our program for this week. Please join us again next week as we continue staying in contact.
Previous installments of Staying in Contact with London Mitchell are available on the Stream 419 app, Spotify, and londonmitchell.news.